So how can parliamentarians support community energy and establishing support for community energy in their constituency? This is what we're looking at today. My name is Anna. I work for an energy cooperative that I've founded myself in the northern part of Germany, Bürgerenergie Nord. But I've also founded other cooperatives in the past. I've worked in campaigning and communication for community energy, as well as working in the governmental administration for the state of Schleswig-Holstein. So looking from different perspectives on community energy, that has been my professional life for the past 15 years about. And I'm happy to share some of these insights with you today. To me, there are actually 3 steps for a parliamentarian to support or to establish support for community energy. The first one is define different interests of the different people that you're working with. Every stakeholder has a different interests. And from my experiences, there are actually 3 main interests that can conflict. They can be combined, and every policy framework must somehow reflect these interests and make sure that they are addressed. First one is the economic interests. There are people who look at great investment opportunities, and your enabling framework must allow people to put their money on community energy, to make sure that they're not investing it in anything else but in community energy. There are some people who want to reduce their energy costs, and for that they consume community energy. So your policy framework must allow people to save money by consuming community energy. Or they want to create local value in a municipality. I'll give you an example. Tax income. For municipalities, it's quite important. And an energy cooperative can be a vehicle of a municipality to increase tax incomes, because you are, as an energy cooperative, you are operating renewable energy plants, rooftop solar or wind or whatever, in a municipality. And for that, obviously, you make money, you have earnings for that, and for that you also pay local taxes. At least that's the case in Germany, depending on what the tax framework, the financial framework in your constituency is. So make sure that money that is earned locally is at least also paid to the local community. The second main interest, I would call it, is the political or environmental interest. There are people who want to build resilience against the energy crisis. We've seen that over the past years here in Germany, after the Russian invasion in the Ukraine, the world had looked at a huge energy crisis, and also here in Germany, our electricity prices, also heating prices, skyrocketed. So many people actually looked at investing in their own solar PV installation on their roof, because they can easily make money or save money. That's the better word. They can actually save money by not using electricity from the grid, but produces themselves. So enhancing energy security by reducing the reliance on fossil fuels and centralized grids can be an advantage and can motivate people to engage in community energy. Or to become a prosumer and be independent from energy producers. The third interest is more the technological and innovation aspect of the energy transition. So many people live in neighborhoods where, for example, in the heating transformation, this is a huge issue. They look in their neighborhood and say, why can't we have a microgrid here around in our neighborhood where we have a renewable heating solution for our local community here? Well, usually the answer is there's no one interested in investing in it, so let's do it ourselves. So any policy framework must enable people to actually do that. Or increase of efficiency and sector coupling. So making sure that the electricity that I'm producing with the wind farm or with the solar PV installation, make sure that this electricity is actually used locally. For example, by using electric vehicles and combine that, or also electric heating solutions. Digitalization and flexibilities, enhancing flexibilities, is something that many communities actually look at, and that can motivate people to engage, to participate, and to learn from it, because it's something that is very exciting to do, especially if you do it with others. So after you have defined your interests and through that also got to know your stakeholders much better, you need to identify formats and business models that allow community energy to actually grow and to be scaled up. So there are different formats. I've mentioned before the energy cooperative that I've the most experienced with, because that's what we founded here in the northern part of Germany. And by now we have about 900 energy cooperatives in Germany throughout different sectors, mostly electricity, but also heating and others. There are crowdfunding models. Make sure that your policy framework allows crowdfunding models for scaling up community energy. Other examples are local renewable energy funds hosted by municipalities. For example, here in Kiel, the main capital of the northern state of Germany, Schleswig-Holstein, they have established a community energy fund where, for example, we as an energy cooperative can apply for funding to support solar PV rooftop installations on multiple apartment buildings or on churches. So it's a financial support, and it enables stakeholders, not only energy cooperatives, but also private people, whoever wants to invest, to make their project more economically feasible. Pilot projects, showcase pilot projects. One of the key issues for people is to understand that solutions are out there, that they exist. We don't only talk about problems, we talk about solutions, and make sure that the projects that are there, maybe even in your constituency, make sure they are known, so you motivate others and make sure that it can be replicated. But of course, you need business models. You don't only need the format energy cooperative that, for example, exists probably in theory on a policy paper, but make sure that there are business models, or that the policy framework enables business models. So, very concrete example, I have founded 2 energy cooperatives that are quite different. The first one, that was about 15 years ago, where we built solar PV rooftop PV installations on municipal buildings. And this electricity is completely fed into the grid. So we feed in through the feed-in tariff, through the policy feed-in tariff, we feed in the electricity, the renewable electricity to the grid. The energy cooperatives make some money, make some earnings with it. We also pay our taxes to the municipality, and our members get their share, so about 5 to 6% every year for 15 years from their investment. This is possible because there is a feed-in tariff scheme, policy framework that allowed this. Now, the second energy cooperative that I've founded in 2019, there the business model is to deliver the energy from the rooftop of multiple apartment buildings to the people who live in these apartments, and make sure that the energy from the roof, the electricity that is produced on the rooftop, is actually distributed to the different apartments. And that needed a different policy framework. First of all, we needed to be allowed in Germany, we needed the allowance, the regulatory framework that allowed people to consume energy themselves and not only feed it to the grid. Second one, not only consume it, but also deliver it to others. So what are the conditions? Make sure that this is economically feasible for people, that this is attractive, so that it's actually a business model that people invest in. And then the last third step, after you have defined the interests of your stakeholders, after you have identified formats and business models, make sure that the policy legislative support framework exists. And for that, the prerequisite is obviously allow everyone to invest in renewable energy production. Make sure that the money, that the capital that is out there is directed to community energy. Secondly, advocate for simplified permitting processes to reduce bureaucracy. For example, we in Germany, we had the Mieterstromgesetz, which is the legislation for tenant electricity. This is what we as Bürgerenergie Nord are investing in. The rooftop solar PV installation produces energy, produces electricity that we distribute to the different apartments. And this was invented, let's call it. This was introduced in 2017, but up to 2020, hardly anyone knew about it and hardly anyone used it. So it was a legislation that was basically not used because it was too bureaucratic. It was not attractive at all. And then obviously we need to enable business models like self-consumption, electricity models for tenants, what I just mentioned, local energy sharing, so distribute, sell electricity to my neighbor, to my community member. Make sure that this is possible and that this is allowed from a regulatory point of view. And finally, push for financial incentives. I mentioned before, financial support schemes are important, but make sure that this is not the only thing, because actually renewable energy is the cheapest way to produce energy if we allow this to happen. So we don't need only the financial support scheme, we need the regulatory framework that allows us to harvest the earnings actually that exist, and make sure that the community members, that the people locally have the major advantage from it. Because in that sense, then the energy transition has the support that you need, and that's something that you're looking at. So, finally, grassroots support is the backbone of any successful community energy project. And as a parliamentarian, you can educate, you can legislate, and you can empower local communities to take charge of their own energy future. So I wish you all the best for that, and I'm looking forward to see all these amazing community energy projects scaled around the world.